Is it an American flag guitar?
Is this how we're kicking this off? Did I show you what I bought?
Oh, we're just going to go for it. I think we should.
I mean, why not?
You know, it's a VTC podcast today. It's going to be great. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Here you go, Evan. This is going to make you really happy.
Is that a Centaur?
That's a 20 millimeter rifle, and I bought one because America.
Cannon. That is a cannon.
I thought from this screen it looked like one of those Indian guitars that they would like stand.
Yeah, Centaur.
Didgeridoo?
Yeah, no,
Didgeridoo?
it's a Centaur. Yeah,
is that what it's called? A Centaur?
It's a Centaur. No, Centaur. It's Sintar.
Got it.
It's a magazine-fed 20 millimeter bolt action, and it weighs about 100 pounds. So I'm gonna see if I can shoulder fire it as I should naturally. As Jared fixes his hair on.
Hey, come on! I'm trying to look presentable for the show.
That's impossible.
Damn it!
You have to go to the gym to do that.
I think God, no! Fired those before. Have you fired my?
Yeah, he's hip fired a 20 millimeter.
Yeah, I hip fired a 20 millimeter before. I want to be able to get it. That's my whole gym routine right now. Is how do I get fit enough to shoulder fire a 20 millimeter? I feel like you need goals in life, and that's a great goal to have.
That's a great goal. So did we start this thing? Is this
Hard?
Is this a hot start? Or this is a cold start? Cold start. That's what that would be. Cold start.
Cold open. A cold open.
Okay, cold open. I love it. Hey, it's great to see you guys, man. It really is.
It is.
Yeah. Wow.
I like your hat. It's one of my favorite hats, and you put it on it's the kind of the green one with the yellow badge that you always have, and you put it on is that a blue or black hat? I'm feeling that. I want that.
It's blue.
Ooh, that pure navy right there.
Yeah, I'm calling it the navy the navy hat because it's blue with the yellow, and I'm super happy with it. Brian literally just walked up from the sew shop where we sew the patches on and handed this to me with a stack of other options for the Keystone line. So
Keystone.
I'm pretty impressed. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with what the guys put together down there.
Let's just not kick it off with an advert because I can't speak today. But a good way of saying we just launched the Sticker Club in Black Rifle Coffee, and I am a loyal customer of our own Sticker Club. I pinged their customer service today to check the quality assurance on how fast they respond. Within 5 minutes of pinging them, they updated my account. It's just classy stuff. We got a great.
That was like literally on my schedule tonight at about 11:30. I was going to sticker my flight helmet.
Oh yeah, because you've been doing explain what you've been doing because you've explained it to me a couple times. It's really interesting. Okay. I'm not just saying that. It's super interesting because what is it? The wet boys that you have going? Yeah.
So and it got more interesting today, which you'll appreciate being a comms guy is, I found that there's a community of simulator guys on the
sounds okay.
Yeah, there's a community of men online, Jared, that would be very interested in talking to you.
And they fly flight simulators, and we use one called DCS. Well, there is a virtual Thunderbirds. There is a virtual Blue Angels. Well, we decided we weren't going to emulate anybody, and we created the 15th Aerial Demo Squadron, the Wet Boys. And we have our own aircraft, our own patches. We have our own server. And then today we got a new patch for the game itself so we can all talk through the radios in the aircraft. So we have to program our own frequencies and speak.
Evan, I love this. You'll love this. Jared is so resourceful, and he always uses it for the weirdest, most obscure things. Yeah. He contacted pretty much one of the lead designers of the game and got them to build his own custom skin in the game.
I have my own jets.
What?
Yeah, I have my own jets.
What do they look like?
I'm about to show you.
Oh my God.
It's yellow. It's disgusting.
It's not. It looks good. My name is on the jet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Okay,
that's cool. I'm game with that, man. Like Jared having your own skin, flying. Like I'm just glad that you're doing something. You know what I mean? Keeping kids off the streets, keeping them out of the White Claws.
Just White Claws and YouTube was not good at the late hours of the night.
Well, the positive impact of that is that he's becoming a far better pilot because the sim is just like a real plane. So if we're ever in a plane together and it's about to go down, we have a very high success rate of Jared taking over the plane and flying if the pilot goes down.
He's going to have to. Well, the thing that I run into is you're going to have to be good, because I've never been on a plane with Jared where he hasn't at least put 10 back. So you're going to have to be able to fly this thing.
he gets drunk while he streams in the middle of the night. And so he's already practicing drunk flying. So it's going to be
but like the things that we practice is like, I will go straight up to 30,000 feet in the air, put myself in a flat spin, and then the guys try and knock me out of it by hitting me.
Wow. But train as you fight. Jared just took that and said, train as you fight. Train as you fight.
I was talking to Preston, though, who is a former F-18 pilot, and he's like, dude, it's the same thing outside of like some of the buttons that he had with his.
Yeah, once he got used to it, like he was like, oh, I'm in the jet.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
and
like,
he actually taught us how to form up. So before he came over, we were just mashing the throttle, trying to match speed. He came over. He's like, check it out. You put the wing here. You put it on the head of the guy next to you in the cockpit. And then right as he explained it, we were able to do it.
Wow. Okay. Like that's, respect. I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing that that's what you're doing. And Mattson, you've been doing what?
Warzone.
Call of Duty, right?
Yeah. Been doing the Warzone thing about 3 times a week. It's good though.
He's now getting so good, like he's going to become a competitive gamer.
That's okay. We're building out the BRCC gaming team. We built today a whole Discord channel. So we have a private community that anybody that subs across any of the channels of Black Rifle will have an ability to go into a chat room and hang out. We have moderators. So it's going to be really fun.
Man, I got to try to figure this stuff out. I haven't played a video game. I don't think that I played a video game since probably 2015, 14. I don't know, whenever my last deployment was, because, we always had an Xbox sitting in one of the rooms out there. So I
think I've got the perfect game for you though, Evan. It's called Farm Simulator 2020.
That sounds boring as shit. It sounds just boring as shit.
Yeah, but you would be like freakishly good at it somehow.
I don't think so. I don't think I would make a good farmer whatsoever. I'm too impatient to watch, to go out and water the plants and do
you got to plow. You got to plow the food. You got to simulate plowing the field.
Evan needs to play like a Conquer game where he goes and steals farms from people.
It's tactics.
That he'd be good at that one.
I don't know. I like the instant gratification games where you just my favorite game that we used to play was
Grand Theft
remember
Auto?
the zombie? No, the Nazi zombie game. Yeah. Which one was that?
That was Call of Duty.
That?
That was one of the Call of Duty ones.
Yeah, because you could there really wasn't a big plot to it. I get bored within minutes typically because you just need to go get it on. You know what I mean? And just go get it on a lot. And then those games keep my attention for extended periods of time. But anything where you have to have a plot and you have to know the characters and all this other bullshit, I do not have the patience for it. I can't do it.
Well, in this October, the new VR headset comes out. That's twice the old resolution, and it has a ton of new features. So I'm really interested to see what that is like, because I'm going to switch over to the flight sim, to the VR in October.
You know what Evan would like though is that that rally sim, because that thing was awesome. I don't know what happened to that machine.
You and I broke it the first 10 minutes it was operating.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Logan? Are you into games? Are gaming? What's the lingo? Give me the lingo.
Gaming? You like the game? That's fine.
Gamer?
No, not yet. I want to get on the Warzone train, but I gotta.
Well, the cool part about it, it's like at night for me, it's like when it hits 8 p.m., I could either just go watch a show and sit in bed and mess around my iPad and come with ideas, or you get to engage with a community that's already pre-existing through Black Rifle Coffee. And then the feedback loop has been the coolest aspect of all of this for me, because it's a direct conversation between us and a lot of our customers.
Right.
And they're giving feedback. Just got RTD. I love the Mocha and all this. It's really cool to interact on a more personal level, because the other platforms that we have are so large. You can't sift through, 20,000 comments, where here it's a little smaller. So it's been a cool
And it's free. Like anybody, like once you get on a schedule, we're on a set schedule now. So we're Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 9 p.m. So it's like it's like going live every night, and anybody that wants to pop in and ask a question or say something or anything, they can.
I'm more involved with this 20 millimeter that I bought, and I want to see how far Sniper Logan can push this thing. If we can hit out into a mile with this, I have no clue on the ballistics of it, but we should try.
I mean, a mile is probably easy with that thing. Evan, how far does that range at Deseret push to?
We have 1.5 miles easy.
1.5 miles? Yeah.
If not more. I mean, we've got as much as we want to be quite ridge to ridge. Jeez.
I think we should try and beat the Canadian sniper record with that thing.
Oh, I don't
even know what that record is.
I don't even know if you could with that round. It's too big.
Big.
Why did you say it like that?
I don't know.
I want to say it's
my ears popped.
200 yards.
No, wow. I don't know. I bet the ballistics can't be that good on it. I have not researched it at all. I just saw it and I was like, ooh, gun porn. I'm buying it. I need it. And then I'll replace the 50 cal behind me with it.
So funny story is we're going to be co-sponsoring an event, a PRS match in July. And how we got connected in on that was my neighbor owns, I guess you'd call it custom brass manufacturing. It's called Alpha Munitions. So we moved into this house and I was like, oh man, my neighbors are going to instantly hate me. It's just normal. Just like, you just consider your neighbors just to write you off because I'm, the black rifle asshole, I guess. I don't know. But then he comes over. He's like, oh, hey, man, what's up? You have black rifle coffee, right? And it's like, yeah. So we started talking and now we've been able to go out. I've checked his facility out. Super cool. But we're co-sponsoring this event in July and it's all a bunch of long distance shooting. We've got a stage in that event. So we're bringing out, who's coming out for that with us, JT? It's Matt, right?
No, we have a few people coming out. Let me see. I got to look at our list.
So we have a couple guys coming out. They're going to shoot in it. We get to shoot in a stage and we get to build the stage. So I have an epic plan for that stage. I don't know if we're going to be invited back, but we have a great plan for that stage.
Ryan Hay.
Super fun. Ryan, that's right.
Our shooter for the competition is Ryan Hay.
Ryan Hay, Paul Tobias is coming out. He's going to shoot in that.
Toby's going to be there?
Yeah.
I love Toby.
Dude, it's going to be so much fun. We're going up there. We're going to serve coffee. There's only a couple hundred shooters out there. We're going to serve coffee, watch a bunch of guys shoot long distance, and it's going to be a ton of fun. And up in the mountains of Utah in July, obviously it's beautiful. So I'm really excited for that whole thing to come to fruition because the stage is going to be epic. And like I said, we might not be invited back.
No,
but,
the giggles in your voice. That's my favorite when you're like,
the idea. What's the idea?
No, we can't say. It's a surprise. Yeah. It's a surprise.
It's a surprise
stage.
Yeah.
You'll see when it's all said and done.
Logie, you owe me.
I know what the idea is.
It's hard to miss.
I want to communicate that to the audience because it's hilarious.
It is hilarious.
But we got to wait. We got to wait.
Yeah, we got to wait.
I don't even know what the idea is. Logan, you owe me a date up at the ranch to do some long range with me because
we had one and you didn't show up.
Yeah, you were there. I don't know.
Yeah, we can get out to 1150 now out at the ranch. So we got some decent distance out there.
I'm in because everybody always asks me if I'm like a long range shooter. And, as like an assaulter guy in Ranger Battalion, literally I only shot 300 yards and in. That was it. I never touched a sniper rifle in battalion, nor the agency. It was all close quarter stuff. So I'm fairly proficient at that, obviously, but long range, I'm a nobody.
It's fun though. It gets addicting. It's the only time in my life when math was enjoyable.
Yeah.
That and explosive breaching. That's the only other time I've had fun doing math.
That's true.
Yeah.
Working out in an explosive way is super fun. And then if you don't know the formula, you just go P for plenty and you give everybody TBIs. Yep. It's cool.
That's fine. It's fine. Everybody's going to be fine. So Space Force launched the other day.
SpaceX?
Space Force? I'm sorry?
Both SpaceX and Space Force.
Yeah.
The movie, right?
I thought we were talking about the NASA guys.
Did you guys watch that, the launch?
Yeah.
That was so badass.
I had it playing with my kids. I had both my girls on my lap, and I had the phone up because we drove up in the mountains and we were sitting on a ridgeline watching the rocket go off, and it was pretty cool. It was like my kids were completely enthralled with the event. They thought it was really cool. I only watched I had my timer set for the last 5 minutes, so pulled the phone up. The kids thought it was epic. It's such an interesting time in history. It really is, not to sound too weird about it, but the first company to send astronauts into space, what an incredible time to be alive, where we're watching, guys like Elon Musk build these companies to the point where they can even embark on these endeavors. It's to me, it's mind blowing, because I look at this stuff, I'm going, man, that's one. How much money do you have to make in order to, have your own space program? That's just unimaginable. And then two, you have your own space program.
You have your own space program.
Well, if you look at the interview, there's a really good one between NASA and SpaceX. It was Elon Musk and whoever the gentleman representing NASA was. But it was really cool to see how kind of the private entities were supporting the government so much, because there wasn't all this red tape. And so they were able to test things far cheaper than NASA, which led to this really quick progression into where we're at today with SpaceX.
Yeah, that was a constant thought for me, which is working for the government. There are things that the government does uniquely well, and large scale, complex, very expensive programs typically have to be government programs just because of that, right? They have to pull in the resources and get the money. It's just not scalable for a company to do that. So the thought that I kept having was, how more effective has this been, or how much more effective has this been in just being able to eliminate the red tape to move through this process and then get things justified to implement because they just work better, versus going through 12 different layers of command structure and people that have, personal interests and rice bowl politics and all these other weird things that go on. It's a company. So they're going, no, we're going to make the best choice for this. I think that was probably truth when NASA had its origins. When we look at truly it started in the 50s, then it developed into the 60s and 70s. But I think that was very effective then. I think there was less bureaucracy, government red tape, and contracts. Maybe I'm just throwing bullshit theory out.
Focus, though, it was a priority, and that's obviously going to push things across the line a lot easier.
Right.
We were a major priority, racing to the moon.
Yeah, and then you had that competition factor,
right,
as well, with Russia getting in space just a little bit before us. It was like, oh no, this is it. It's leading edge, and if we're the greatest country in the world, we got to be doing this thing. So it was like it felt like, looking back on it, was this communal thing. It's super disappointing that isn't the case over the weekend.
And you got to give it to SpaceX, dude. Those uniforms that they were wearing, their suits, looked cool as fuck. Like, if I saw that at 8 years old, I'd be like, I want to be an astronaut.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking with my girls. I was like, man, I hope you guys are burning this in, going, man, I want to be an astronaut. How cool would that be? Your kids, watching your kids take a rocket into space. But
probably a little terrifying too, though.
Yeah, I would imagine. I don't know. I can't imagine what it would have been like for our parents to watch us go to war. They were probably terrified. I would much rather see my kids go to space than go to war.
In an Elon Musk rocket than a government rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they actually pushed the launch because they didn't like the conditions.
Right.
Is that true what they said when the fuel system or whatever was landing and it lands back on the ship, that the broadcast cut off right there when it landed? That's what people were saying because they didn't want to give the secret away of how it actually works or something. I don't know if that's tin hat stuff, but I saw
the previous launches that I've seen, the feed generally cuts out every time.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's some weird shit that they don't want to give away to the general public, which rightfully so. You don't want.
Yeah, that's rightfully so.
Other countries.
Well, I was thinking about that too, and I think that's actually the most statistically, that's the highest rate of failure in those situations as well, is right there. So there's two theories that I think I was working with, which is they're either hiding proprietary information or they're cutting it because they don't want to show a catastrophe, because they don't want the negative press associated with that on a live feed that's streamed out. So I could see it both ways. Maybe it's a combination of the both. I'm not sure.
Do you think it's terrifying to be launched up into space like that? Or you just come to terms with, if it blows up, you're going to die really quick and it's whatever? Because I mean, every second of that launch, you just got to be like, well, it could all get vaporized in milliseconds.
I think it's probably the same. Like, how many?
It's like flying,
How many entries have you done?
Very true.
Right?
It's calculated risk at that point. You're confident in your skill sets and the technology you have, I presume.
I feel like it's almost better because you have a guarantee of a quick death. You're strapped to how many gallons of rocket fuel? Like, if that thing goes, you're going to go quick too. So,
and if you don't, the ride post that would be pretty exhilarating. Like, holy shit, no parachute, man. Like,
did we just figure out the best way to die?
I think so.
And it's not getting eaten by a bear.
I'm paying for that right now.
Far better than the bear thing Evan came up with a couple episodes ago. Dude, one of those astronauts is a badass, man. He's a former Marine and fighter pilot, dude. This
is the first guy to fly the F-18F model.
Yeah, man. Cheers to them. They're badass motherfuckers, man. That's awesome. Way to represent America.
Now, I think
Astro Doug.
Wow.
Really? Astro Doug, that's what he goes by?
That's his Instagram handle, yeah.
Oh, that's fine. I think while some of these companies are focused on creating their own space program, this is a chance for us to start our own Navy.
What? Us? Like a Black Rifle Navy?
Yes. We need a battleship and a submarine.
Sounds expensive. We can cut budget and go canoes and kayaks.
Yeah. Fine. Can I graphics wrap him?
Yes.
We can call it Commando Navy. And
as long as it's not that horrible yellow.
And then, Jared, we'll film with hot Navy SEALs to paddle them around. So you have
there's just shirtless SEALs just paddling me.
Yeah.
As I'm eating cheese.
Hey, question for you guys. Do you guys believe that we landed on the moon?
Yeah.
I'm 50-50. I'm 50-50.
Okay. I do. Alex Jones said we did.
I do.
And his explanation was the best I've ever heard.
What's his take on it?
He said we absolutely recorded the faking of it because we didn't think that they would survive coming back. So he was like, we were prepared in case they didn't come back. We were going to pretend that they did and be like, yay, look at us, propaganda. But he was like, it actually worked. And they were like, well, fuck. So that's why, like, you see all this stuff leaked. That's like, wait, they built these sets and they had these movie sets where the moon was at. Like, yeah, he was like, they did because we didn't think that they'd survive the trip, but they did.
Why are you 50-50? What's the 50 doubt?
I don't know. There's pretty substantial information. I'm just being the counter argument guy. I actually am not too educated on the situation, but they did have sets built, and I don't know. I would really like to think that we did, because America's prowess just, rammed a nice dildo into the moon, and that's pretty epic, especially all the way back then.
Yeah, it's unimaginable to me the technology that they had during that time and what they were able to do with it. Like, is, to me, if they did, which I'm probably 70-30, they did. I think that's the Alex Jones theory is that's been thrown out quite a few times by quite a few different people, and it's pretty solid because I think that's exactly what they would do. They would say, yeah, we landed, and they'd have to do some other story like they crashed coming in or something like that to cover up the other things that were involved in that. I think the strongest argument that I've heard was they the radiation, the strongest argument that I've heard is the radiation that they would have to absorb would be fatal because of where they were flying and what they were flying in, going out to the moon and back. So that's the strongest counter argument that I've heard is that they would have to absorb too much radiation. Yeah. Now, we have no idea what the technology implemented into that spacecraft was, nor do I think that it's been declassified in order to fight against.
I mean,
that.
we know that the computing power of that entire aircraft system could fit on a floppy disk.
Right.
I just love the kind of stratification of humanity where, you know, we have people eating Tide Pods and then we just launched a rocket to go into orbit and then land on a fucking space station. It's like the difference of where certain aspects of humanity are quite hilarious to me, to think that people are going to eat Tide Pods for whatever reason.
Some people doing the Tide Pod challenge.
And then we have a fucking space station.
Other people's challenges are, I want to go there.
Yeah, it's wild. That's a difference of the go-getters, I presume.
Well, here's an interesting one for you is when we do go back to the moon, we will be going back with 8K cameras, which has never been right. We've never seen high definition moon footage.
Yeah.
And I want to see that.
Evan, do you have any good Cosmos, like Netflix stuff going on? Because I think I've watched all of the ones, but I mean, it's fascinating to me when even discoveries on Mars and how a lot of the valleys were actually like water back in the day and they're frozen over now. And you're like, dude, oh.
Yeah, I think I've, Carl Sagan did a whole series. I think the older ones with him were really good. And then obviously Neil deGrasse Tyson took that over.
Yeah, but those are like 2008. I want the new shit. They have the new ones, like new.
Man, I really there's been a few documentaries that have come out. I think I've seen just about anything that's come up on either Amazon or Netflix. Nothing revolutionary, but I did see one recently that was really good because it was something like 6 or 8 hours of actual footage. So they had all this footage that they had condensed down, which still 8 hours of footage from that entire timeline. So you have to watch it obviously in multiple sessions. And the original footage is really interesting in the story of the space program, the astronauts, their success, their failures, like how many astronauts died in the program. And then they looked at the Soviets, their space program. They looked at our space program. They looked at the success and the failures of both these programs. They did kind of a comparative analysis. I can't remember whether it was on Amazon or Netflix. Just look at the longest one you can find. And, I think the original footage stuff where it's just not 10 or 15 second snippets with a bunch of narration, that stuff, I can't get into it as much as I can if there's a long story, lots of cool footage, just looking at their equipment and all these elaborate switchboards to your point that we could condense down to just, the iPad and their entire control panel, their entire control system. They had layers, like stadium seating with these guys in it, and they're all smoking. And it's just so fucking cool, man. It's just so cool to look at that stuff. And it excites me because that was how long ago? 60 years ago?
I mean, it was even, your point of that is even funny. The other day I rewatched Top Gun, and something I noticed right away is they're in the class the first day and there's guys smoking in class. Could you imagine being a student in a military class and you're just sitting in your seats day one having a smoke?
Yeah.
I just got to Google it, but I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, the first iPhone came out in 2007. So that's only 13 years ago have we had technically smartphones. Wild.
And now it's such a part of our technology. It's
a supercomputer.
It's changed everything. I mean, think about the way you like live your life. That phone is an extension of yourself at this point. I mean, I'd venture to say 90% of people that have phones, they're on them at all times everywhere.
I at least Americans, right? I don't know,
well,
maybe
I'm saying
the developing world wouldn't, but yeah.
Well, no, that's why I said 90% of people. 90% of people that own phones. Okay, I'm not saying some village.
No, I'm definitely not. I'm not even trying to shoot holes in it. I'm just saying that even within the developing world, when you look at the smartphone, typically is the only form of technology in the household. So there might even be more usage depending on where you go. When Logan and I were in Guatemala or when we were in Afghanistan, like those guys are on their phones more than I carried a phone for emergency purposes.
I mean, have you seen
I was texting people?
Have you seen all the YouTube channels of people in the rainforest that just build this elaborate shit with a machete?
Yeah, it's badass.
It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I can watch.
Crawl down that YouTube rabbit hole because that one, have you guys seen the videos where the dude builds almost a Shangri-La in the middle of the jungle, like carves it out of the.
He's got a little bamboo loft with his pool, and he can jump from his loft.
He's got fire. Like he's got his bed. He's got I've seen him build everything. Like.
Yeah. Oh, so you've gone down that rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah. There's it takes you for about a 12-hour journey.
Yeah,
I feel like you've gone down the weirdest rabbit holes, Jared. Sorry.
Yeah.
That YouTube channel is Primitive Technologies, where that guy does these elaborate how-tos on everything you could think of. And
yeah, I mean, I went down a Twitch rabbit hole the other day. I found a Twitch channel where all the person does is starts out with a giant table full of glassware, and then they just break it.
Really?
Yeah. I checked back in on him today. He had all fine china. I found a Twitch channel that's dedicated to old Russian music, and then I found one where this girl only wears garbage bags.
Doesn't surprise me. I was thinking about this. I was thinking about this while you were talking. I was like, and then I instantly retracted the thought because it was a conversation I was having where it's like, man, it would be really interesting to see what kind of rabbit holes Jared's gone down. And then I instantly retracted it because I was like, whoa. Because if you had the means in order to get into the dark web, I think you would be watching some really, really.
I don't like that stuff.
I'm not saying like weird shit. I'm saying like you would be crawling down some weird shit, like watching like self-mutilation stuff or something. You'd be like, yeah, this is interesting.
I don't know if I like that.
I don't know. I think you're prone to going down to some weird rabbit holes for watching behaviors.
That is true.
I could be wrong. I don't know, but
that is true.
How do they break the fine china? Is like every time it's a different.
No. It's like imagine Imagine like a waiter's cart. He has a waiter's cart with a white tablecloth on it, and it's full of different dishes, like the salad dishes to big plates to the square serving plates. And then his head is not on camera. He just grabs a plate and goes boom, and then keeps going, and like chat is going off, and then he just.
How many viewers does this guy have?
He had like 1,600 today.
Oh my god. The world is fucking insane.
That's what
it is.
We were joking, Evan, about starting a YouTube channel with me and Eli, where Eli just like creates a giant knot and then essentially takes 600 feet of 550 cord and attaches it to a drill and just fucks it up. And then I just sit there on camera trying to untangle the knot.
I feel like I'd like, this is so stupid. And then 2 hours in, I'd be like, is he going to fucking get the knot?
Yeah. It's just constantly playing in the background. Is this guy going to get this knot or not?
It's like, it's a 9-hour continuous video to the same elevator music. Well, I'm just undoing this 550 cord.
You have to score the end when you get the knot completely done to like super sensual music and just be like pulling the rope.
No, as soon as it's out, it literally, I just get out of my seat and leave and it ends. There's no climax at all. It's just like, oh, I'm done.
I'm done. I'll do another one tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow I'm doing Christmas lights.
Oh, no. Yeah, fly fishing pole the next day. Have fun with that.
Your telephone cords, 550 cord, fish, like all of that stuff would be. I don't know if it'd be interesting to watch, but I mean, I could see you doing it. So,
what's up?
Are we going to talk about what's going on in the world? We gonna hit that one?
I mean, if you want, but it's crazy out there right now, man. It's crazy.
Does anybody even know? That's the real question. Does anybody know?
I kind of tuned it out, to be honest with you. I just kind of tuned it out. It's just the internet just seems like a wasteland of negativity right now. And obviously there's some tragic things that have happened, but man, the internet's a fucking horribly negative place right now that I've just kind of limit my time.
Wasteland right now.
I got so much other shit that I'm doing in the company where it's like the internet gets to that point for me where I'm just, I just got to check out. Like
I feel like some people will give me heat for that, but that's what I've said. I'm just like, it's not like I'm just letting bad things happen in the world, but change starts with the individual. And if we change ourselves for the better, and then the culture and of the friends around us, that to me is true change, not, posting on social media about how I'm not a racist. Like, all my friends know that I'm not a racist. I don't need to go prove for self-affirmation reasons that I support equality. Of course I support equality. That's fucking why I'm an American and why I went to war for nearly 10 years, was because I believe in individual rights and freedoms. And I don't know, that kind of rubs me the wrong way when people get this. Do you guys see that video today? It's fucking terrible, but hilarious in the same right. There's this guy that's putting boards on a window that from rioters, not protesters, but people actually creating destruction.
Right.
And this girl gets out of her fucking BMW, walks over, asks the dude for the drill, starts drilling, takes an Instagram photo and goes, thanks, hands it back. And they get into their fucking, $90,000 car and drive off. And like that right there is the problem to me. It's like, so they're going to post it on Instagram or whatever and be like, look what I did, help rebuilding the community. And you're like, go fuck yourself, bitch. Who knows if it was a prank, but it was just like,
that was, but you don't know what happened yesterday. I forgot to tell you. A bunch of people started massing in my aunt and uncle's neighborhood. Like, and a tweet was going out that, hey, we're going into Lake Folsom. We're going into these neighborhoods. And so all these cars started pouring in. They called me freaking out. And I'm like giving my uncle tactics advice, like, hey, get to the second floor, put a couch against the window, get all your stuff, kind of set up there. And then finally I hit up Drinking Bros Southern California. And within 15 minutes, we had 5 ex-Marines over there hanging out with my aunt and uncle. And the sheriff showed up about 2 hours later and they were moving into the residential area.
Well, you need to be more specific on that tweet. The tweet was essentially kill, I think, white people or whatever. They were inciting.
Let's go to the rich neighborhoods.
To murder people essentially. And it was like, whoa, bro.
But this comes into really what we're being attacked with right now is an IO campaign, and we don't know where it's coming from. It could be coming from another country. It could be coming from an enemy. It could be coming from somebody within. This is an information war that we're in right now.
Well, it's never been easier to spread false information than it is today, right? It's never been more effective to kind of mass propagate negative information and false information. Yeah. And the exploitation of these, violent roving gangs that are just causing destruction, like the civil protest is, that's guaranteed with your, your American status, right? And that's something that I think we should all believe in, something I believe in. I think everybody believes in, equal rights for everybody. That's really, we don't even have to justify or argue it, because it's a, when you say, if, it's un-American to be prejudiced. It's un-American to be prejudiced, right? People perform on their own fruition and build what they can from their own lives. Like, that's the right to our own civil liberties. It's the right to, freedom and happiness, right? This is what it's guaranteed to us. The problem is when people are destroying businesses in their communities and looting and causing, violence towards people that were unaffiliated to the event. And that becomes a real issue, because now you're just being a terrorist. That's all you're being. Instead of having a protest, exercising your right as an American, something that's obviously horrific and unjustified, but that's what the legal system is for too. where he was arrested, he was charged with murder, like he's going to have a trial, like all of those things. Like that's the way the system works. It doesn't give you the right to go through a brick through your local business. That's crazy. Like at one point in time did, especially Salt Lake, we had riots here, and I couldn't help but think that how did the local, fish market have anything to do with this? And why are you throwing bricks through their windows and burning their cars? These people immigrated here 4 years ago and they opened up a business.
Well, I think that's part of the problem, right? I think that the majority of people are peacefully protesting, exercising their constitutional rights. And then you have the opportunists that are kind of underlying in those protests and using it to self-benefit and act in criminal intentions. And that's the problem, because then you're going to bucket the protest to be criminal. Well, they're not. Yeah. You can't, inhibit constitutional rights. So it's that's the problem. It's like people can be evil and they're opportunists, and they'll take whatever they can whenever they can. It's more than unfortunate. I don't know.
And there's not really, I mean, the consequence isn't there, or they don't see the consequence at all. So it's like we have to do something that deters people from saying, hey, you can protest all you want. And there were many cities that did. What was it? Flint, Michigan did just fine. Like everybody
there was that
showed
one
up.
video of I'm sure you guys saw, and I've been off social media, but the sheriff was like, I'll protest with you, took off his helmet, hung out with them, and he walked down the street with the protesters. And I was like, how amazing. What a way to show that, most police officers are just great humans and normal people, and we can help citizens. It's what they're there to serve and protect communities. And you're going to have bad apples. And if they're criminal, then you charge them and you put them through the legal system, and we make them pay.
If you set a fire, if you throw a brick, I mean, that's terrorism at that point. Okay, boom, see ya, out.
Well, yeah, one of the really awful, interesting things of this is that whole brick thing. Like, I saw multiple videos of pallets of bricks that were dropped into these areas. Maybe they were there for construction, but in addition to that, we've got a couple National Guard buddies up in Minnesota, and like they had neighborhood watch reports of huge dumps of kerosene that were like just sitting at the end of the street. So it's like, where is this stuff coming from?
I'm telling you, I owe like this information fucking war that we're in, because John Burke, like they physically put hands on this pallet of bricks that was dropped off in Dallas. They called, they called the place that supposedly shipped them. They said, oh, the homeowners association ordered these. And then they called the homeowners association. Homeowners association was like, no, we didn't order those bricks.
Wow.
Yeah. It's truly mind-boggling.
We're being attacked.
Yeah.
So I haven't really done my due diligence as far as looking at everything going on, and you can fault me for that. But yeah, it's wild because there's so many moving parts and so much misinformation. And,
Well, it's so hard to get a grasp of what's going on at all. Like all we're getting fed are these little social media snippets, and a lot of this reposting and sharing that's happening is like, man, I don't know that I can form an opinion on this stuff, is because like I don't have the full story. Like I had 1.5 hour conversation today with the guy that took that rifle from the dude who pulled it out of the cop car, and like that wasn't even close to enough time to get a full comprehension of the situation that was happening there. So
yeah, what was his take on that?
Dude, it was
the second one. He grabbed two. He snatched two from him.
In the clip, he's got one slung, and then he runs up to the guy. He's got his pistol pointed at him, and he grabs the other one. He's doing executive protection for reporters down there, and he was like, dude, I looked down the street and I just saw a sea of people coming at us and destroying shit. And he's like, I stayed there. And like, I didn't see any police officers anywhere. And within, he said it was a really short period of time, like that mob was upon him. And he's like, I felt like I had to do something in that moment.
Yeah. Thank God he did.
Yeah.
Like really.
And Logan's going to have him on the FRA companion show here shortly. So we'll hear his story. It's great.
Yeah.
And the rules of engagement are, the rules of engagement are from a lot of these cities are, you don't do anything. Like you just watch, you try to corral and you break contact. They don't break contact in a violent way. You just fucking leave and you let them go. You just let the sea essentially move past, and they hope that it just fucking meets an end through, they get all their energy out, destroying a bunch of stuff. I don't know if that works. I don't know if that's a philosophy that works. Like I said before, I haven't really kept close tabs on it other than.
Well, I'm sure it's a manpower issue as well. They just don't have the people for it. And until, you get the National Guard there, you get the military to help with this stuff. Like there's, especially when it's popping off on every city, so you can't borrow from anybody else. I think it's a logistics nightmare.
Well, and it's interesting because it's actually, when you think about the COVID logistical issue that we were running into as well, with cities couldn't borrow resources from the Fed, they couldn't borrow resources from other cities because it encapsulated the entire nation essentially at once, and they were dealing with everything. And this is somewhat similar because they're dealing with it across the nation, and everybody's municipalities are essentially tapped, so they can't take resources from Illinois and bring them over to a different state. And it's really fucking interesting what's happening. And when I say it's not interesting from a pure curiosity standpoint, it's interesting because I don't know if the 1960s did it look like this in like 1968, where the Watts riots went down, and there were riots across the United States. This doesn't seem as it doesn't seem like the same thing to me. It really doesn't. It seems like you have a justifiable message and a right to be outraged, but the violence on top of it doesn't seem to be linked. It doesn't seem to be linked in my mind.
Well, yeah, I think it has for sure happened, during the civil rights movement. But
sure.
I don't think that there was as much gasoline that was being poured on the fire as there is today between social media, between, whoever's putting bricks in there and kerosene, these third-party groups. And God knows it could be, if our enemies were like, oh, they're weak, let's interject some chaos into the situation and make it so much worse.
I mean, they have to be tickled. They have to, you have to think that our enemy countries and the leaders of those love seeing this. They look at us right now and they go, look, their own politicians are fighting with each other. They can't agree. They're trying to kick out their own president. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that. They're a freaking mess right now. Like, we better get our shit together. Otherwise, we're going to face something that could come over from one of them.
I think everybody just needs to get high and eat some Sour Patch Kids and relax for a couple of days. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the stimulus checks didn't really pacify anybody, did they? Sure didn't. Like, maybe if they legalized marijuana in all 50 states, we could probably, I don't know if that would help. I don't know. Like I think you were saying it earlier. Maybe they just need to do weed drops. We have the C-130s and these things and just start, low flying, kicking bales out. Like, here, you guys just, go smoke some weed. Burn this on the bonfire.
Do you think that there's going to be a massive uptick in COVID based off of the proximity of all these protesters?
Well, I think ABC reported this morning that there were 20,000 new cases, but there's no way to know that already. So the media is already shooting their shot and showing how full of shit they are, because they're so impatient to try and to push this narrative out. So it's like, we're never going to know because we don't get real facts.
I think that's the most concerning thing, and why I'm so apt to just tune out a lot of this, because there's so much misinformation. And really the misinformation, I don't know if it's directed and organized, because I tend to think that way. But if we think about it from a pure logic standpoint, it's just people leaping to conclusions and then putting out information with no facts. They're just basically making these assumptive leaps and then putting out information. And then you have, a group of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that will look at these things and say, well, that must be true. We got to do something.
Well,
that must be true.
The same problem, Evan, is politicians are doing that. Yeah. Politicians are jumping the gun and pushing out information before they fact check it. And of course their constituents are going to be like, oh, okay, he said it, I'm good. And that's why that needs to become illegal.
That's what I'm saying with these little short snippets we're getting. Like, we can't jump to conclusions. I'll give you an example. One of the things that I ran into over the weekend was I follow this guy on Instagram. He's verified, and he posted this video. I don't know if you guys saw it, but one of the cops does the OK sign. And he's like photobombing some of the people who are protesting, taking a picture. And then he turns to his partner and he's giggling, which we in the military know like that as the gotcha symbol, right? So he's basically lighting up these cops, saying like, these guys need to be punished. I was a former police officer. They need to be removed from their positions, and it's astronomical. And I'm like, how can he possibly come to this conclusion? It goes back to that thing where all of a sudden the OK sign became the white power symbol, and Rogan directly addressed this in one of his podcasts back in the day. And so I went down a rabbit hole trying to figure out where this all started and where the misinformation came from. And it was back in 2017, a 4chan poster was basically like, hey, we're going to make this. We're going to say this is the white power symbol. He's just making it up. He had a picture of Mel Gibson next to this post that he made on 4chan. He's like, I need you guys to post this all over Twitter. Like, make the left adopt this and make this thing. And it took off. It blew up. And
go figure. It was 4chan.
I'm like, man, that's like, it's scary. It's so scary how quick this disinformation can spread and be used to spread hatred to citizens of this country.
Yeah, but that's a super complex conversation, because how do you maintain the freedom of speech and then have these independent company-owned platforms that essentially run information? How do you preserve the integrity of information?
And they have
truth?
the button.
But they can turn off or on whatever they want from essentially a command post and say, wow, this is the information we want to light up today. Here you go. I really think that we're reaching a point where social media has reached a point where there has to be some form of civil authority that defines what they can or cannot do, because they're restricting speech and they're deciding what they can restrict. Right. Yeah. So, but in their minds, maybe they're thinking, well, this is not factually correct. So they're censoring that information. Well, how the fuck do they know? And what gives them the authority? Because there's one piece of me in this argument that says, well, they're a private company. They can do what they want because this is America. And then there's the other piece, which is, well, no, you have hundreds of millions of people that are using these platforms. How can you have that much authority to disseminate information and affect the population's not only opinion
and action?
Yeah. They have a lot of fucking power.
Well, that's the hard part with social media. It has this massive power to influence, and it can influence everybody in the wrong direction because, I mean, most people are headline readers, and they make an assumption based off of one statement rather than actually looking at the information. And we're all going to be wrong. We're all going to make incorrect statements at some point in our lives, but to violently pursue an opinion based off of incorrect information, I don't know what the answer is. That's crazy, right? That's wild. I don't know.
Well, just thinking about the monitoring that would need to take place in order.
How do you monitor? How do you monitor it? Because that's the other issue.
You would need millions of people to do this, and those companies can't hire that many people, so it would need to be some sort of algorithm that looks at that type of content and then
but then who decides, right? That's the hard part. And
who decides?
Look at the pro Second Amendment community and how we've been vilified by all these social media platforms. And then you have that line in the sand. It's like for a lot of these guys that are like, well, I have to sway away from posting my opinions, or I get banned and taken off a platform that provides food to my family. That's putting them, a cat in a bathtub. That's a very challenging, time for a lot of those guys. And, everybody gets censored, it's crazy just because they disagree with the Second Amendment. I'm like, get fucked.
And that's our right. They censor it. It's our right. We're not doing anything illegal by going to the range. And when you look at the Second Amendment community and culture in America, we're talking about tens of millions of people. And we're being restricted in social media platforms because private companies just disagree with our opinion, even though it's our right, which is pure insanity. That's a perfect example.
And I don't think people know this last winter when we were rerunning some old ads on Black Rifle, we took the Christmas Steel video and we ran that as an ad on Facebook. But in order to run that, we had to blur the rifles for that video because Facebook's algorithm picks up the shape of a rifle. And if it picks that up, it won't allow that to run. And people are like, their minds were blown that thing even existed. And this was way down the rabbit hole for us having to deal with this. And people aren't aware that technology exists yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and at this point, it's almost as if it's almost a public service. Like, for instance, the internet was invented and implemented by the taxpayer, the internet. So when you have big corporate entities in Silicon Valley that have directly profited from the taxpayer and made billions of dollars, honestly, combined revenue of these companies would go into the trillions. So we have a government-funded mechanism, the internet, that was invented essentially by taxpayer dollars, that they've been able to manipulate and utilize for their own profit and then control freedom of speech. That is not
it's the ultimate power.
From my perspective, I wonder, like, how is that possible that you can take something that we paid for as taxpayers, you can directly profit from it, and then you can restrict the same people that essentially paid for the platform? It's like telling people that if the highways, if you had a individual company that were restricting people from using the highway that we paid for based on the color of truck.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that would be the same thing. People would be fucking outraged. They'd be like, I drive a Dodge and you won't let me on the freeway or the interstate. Like, I paid for that. Fuck you. Yeah. That's what they would be saying.
Well, we all know the reasoning behind it. It's because it's censorship, because they don't want people to know that nearly all of firearm owners are rational people that want to take self-responsibility in their own hands to protect their families, like that, right?
But we're going to come out of this with a different attitude, man. I mean, I already see California starting to tip. Like, after all this, there's going to be a whole different attitude about the 2A.
I think there already is.
Yeah. Hopefully in the right direction. I hope so too.
Yeah. I mean, I hope the surge in new gun owners creates a voting population. I hope that this has created a really big, shaking wake up to the American population that, one, there are times in that entire narrative where, why do you need one? That, the police force is there to protect you. Oh, really? So when the police force was being restricted to responding to certain events, based on COVID priority, they weren't there. They weren't there to run and rush to to save you in a time or a circumstance when you might need law enforcement. I hope what this does is it wakes up the American population to say, you know what, I have to be able to take care of myself and my family. Priority number one. You have to preserve our rights as American citizens, and we do have to fight for our rights, all of them. And people are so easy to just capitulate and give away their rights in times of fear. People forget, and this is the thing that is troublesome to me, that, you know, post 9/11 information collection and then the classification of terrorist organizations and how they can actually strip your civil liberties based on classification. They forget that we had 8 years of a Democrat in office, and he didn't roll back any of those. There was still a huge capitulation of our rights. And now we've got to try to claw back what is rightfully ours. We should never be in that situation. We should never be in that situation where we're asking the government for our rights back. They fucking work for us. Yeah. They're our fucking employees. We shouldn't be going, oh, can I have my rights back, sir? Fuck off. Like that's a bullshit narrative. And every politician in America should be putting forth legislation to give back people's individual civil liberties, not fighting to take them away because they know better. Oh, fuck. Yeah. If there's anything this has proven to the American population,
how
these people are so
idiots are
fucking self-righteous. They're so fucking dumb. They're so self-consumed, ignorant. They are some of the worst people that we have collectively gathered to elect, and they are not trustworthy of, I would say they're not even trustworthy of taking care of our fucking dogs half the time, let alone whether or not we get our rights back from them. Who the fuck are they? They're the people that we elect.
No, this needs to be a perfect example of, hey, if your city was completely fucked up, it's time to fire your mayor. It's time to fire your governor. It's time to fire your representatives. Guess what? They're shitty at their fucking jobs.
Well, what was that mayor or governor in Minnesota that was saying that people couldn't buy paint or seeds?
Yeah, that was the governor.
Like, there's no way.
Michigan or Minneapolis.
She shouldn't even have a driver's license.
No,
she shouldn't be allowed to fucking drive. That's just pure fucking stupidity. You can't have paint or seeds. There's no reason you're doing that.
Those aren't necessity items. Get the fuck out of here. You're done. Fire them. You can do that. Colorado did it. When they tried to ban, when Magpul was going to pull out, they lifted up their fucking seat.
Oh, they did? I didn't know that.
Yeah. That when that, I believe it was a senator. I mean, obviously the internet will tell us.
Right.
But, they fucking booted her out. Because
hey, this is an opinion-based show. These are not all facts. We're just,
I mean,
four dudes shooting the shit.
That's what I believe.
Four dudes talking.
Jared and Evan are here for the rants. Matt and Logan are here for the high cheekbones. Okay.
Fire the fucking mayors.
Well, I think, dude, overall, looking at it across the board, we have to police our own, whether that's government officials, law enforcement, specific communities. We had to do it in the military on a regular basis. We had to go in and make sure if there were bad apples, we take care of it ourselves. And I think across the country, we got to continue to make sure that happens. Because one thing I haven't seen from any side or any community or any person in this is what is the solution to everything that's going on right now? I haven't heard any theories as to how we work through.
But you got to start with what's everybody mad about? All the way up to the president, they are executing the justice system on this guy. Nobody was on TV defending his actions, saying he had a right to put the boot on his neck. He had a right to fucking do this. He had a right. So what the fuck are we arguing about?
Well, I think it's just the fact that it happened. I think.
But we can't. We're never going to be able to police fucking shitbags. They're gonna sneak through. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's it is a problem, but
it's you getting mad.
Solution.
It's you getting mad at the end of Game of Thrones and coming over to my yard and setting my fucking house on fire. What the fuck do I have to do with this? Because you're mad.
Got spicy there, huh?
Well, I'm just saying.
No.
What is everybody mad about?
Well, yeah, I mean that's the hard thing with humanity. There's going to be evil fucking shitbag assholes in this world.
Matt, did you see John Bones Jones? He was going out and actually asking the young kids and rioters questions, and he didn't even know. They were just following the fucking group. Did you see that?
I saw him going out to help fix stuff. I didn't look, I'll look in that after this.
Yeah. It was wild. He's like, what the fuck? You're destroying the place that you live. When you fucking burn down the grocery store, tomorrow you can't go get groceries.
No, Trump, I'm so in line with that, especially, on the tail end or not tail end, but, with the COVID and the economic crisis, and then you're going to burn down local businesses that probably just got open. It's like, you're just fucking yourself. You're fucking your community. And you're just, this is why we can't have nice things. It's fucked up, man.
Well, yeah, that's a great point, which is these businesses won't even have a possibility of rebounding. They won't be able to rebound after this. They will not be able to recover from the economic restrictions, obviously from COVID. And then you double down on destruction of property with, fire and theft and all these other things. Like a lot of these guys, they're not going to recover from this. They're destroying our communities.
Terrible.
They're tearing apart the fabric of society. And from what I can see, that the acts of violence I think are the most troublesome piece. Mm-hmm. Pulling people out of vehicles and people that I watched a video a couple days ago of a guy being pulled out of a
semi truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
well, they alluded that wasn't he trying to drive over people or something?
Yeah, was that what was happening?
Did you see the one I sent you?
We're getting snippets of information.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Really
you're not seeing the entire thing.
Like that bridge was closed down. We don't know how we got access to it.
Gotcha.
You're getting 30 fucking seconds of information. Like, yeah, it's awful, but like, okay, like he's running people over. They're attacking him.
Gotcha.
Did you see the one in Salt Lake? The guy got out with a recurve.
Well, that guy's a fucking idiot. Yeah, that was
like
no. I can't believe that guy survived.
He shot somebody with a fucking bow and arrow.
Seriously?
He just gets out of his car.
I sent you the video. It's in the text.
I didn't know that he shot somebody. Yeah. I didn't know that he actually shot somebody.
You can't tell from the video whether he actually connected with the arrow or not, but like he pulled back and then he was just swarmed. And they do an interview with him. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy's alive. But like his eye was like completely fucked up. But it's like he was obviously a crazy person.
Right.
And like it was from the moment he stepped out of his car, he's pointing like, yeah, that's one of those cases like, it's fairly easy to discern what's happening here. And this person is not okay in the head.
Right. Yeah, that's the most interesting piece. We get to see the true anger and civil unrest that's in American society, right? You get to see it. You get to see a lot. And I think that's probably an eye-opening, and hopefully it's an eye-opening perspective for people in the United States to look at this and say, we are not in this safe, secure bubble that everybody thought they were in. It goes back to that preservation of, liberty and the pursuit of happiness and the preservation of our rights. It goes back to that continuous conversation. And I understand, that the protests are more about the direct oppression and unjustifiable murder. I completely understand that, and especially when it's systematic and it's socioeconomic based oppression. I completely understand those things. And by no stretch of the imagination would I ever agree in that principle. And I think here, having the company that's 200 plus people and being in the military for as long as we were having that conversation, which is Logan and I were having that conversation this morning about you really don't have a room for, these racist tendencies that I think in some places society does, because you are in the mixing pot. You have to work with people and you have to get over stereotypes and biases and ultimately work to accomplish a mission. Well, we know that it exists. We know that racism exists, but the racists are never as far as my military experience, I think you guys understand this too, which is like, those were the fucking outlier lunatic weirdos. They were never the fucking guys that you're like, oh yeah, hey, Dale's a fucking cool guy. It was like, no, that guy's a fucking dork and nobody wants to be around him. That was the way that they were treated. They weren't like openly fucking, yeah, hey, fucking racism.
No, I mean, that's a good part about the military, I think, that you learn. It's, I grew up in a predominantly white area in Santa Barbara, and then I went to Georgia, and like, you meet all these diverse backgrounds, and that's what makes this country so great. And you serve with Black, Asian, white, everything, right? Every sexual orientation, every sex. And it's like, what comes first is the mission, and nothing else matters. And like,
I've never been getting ready to go out on a mission and seen somebody go, hey, I'm not going with that guy.
No, you're like, fucking, yeah.
There's no racist in a foxhole. Like, no.
You know what there is? There's body warmth. And when you're freezing your ass off, I don't care what you look like, what you do. I'm going to cuddle with your ass because it's 32 degrees. I'm getting rained on.
I hope you're thick.
I hope you're thick.
But it's so weird to me because and you guys remember this because I remember this so prominently. This when you're going through basic training, everybody's like, shave their head and put on the uniform. And you don't see how the person is. Like, and then you go out.
Yeah.
You go out for the first time. And it's so fucking weird because you get to see for the first time what this guy or this person dresses like and what they're, and you're like, what? You're a cowboy? What? You're
it's a brilliant case study to see how conditioned all
bring
of
everybody down
to make assumptions based off of like, let's just go appearance of how people dress. I mean, that shit's real. I remember there's this E5 that I thought was super cool, and I went and got drinks or whatever, and he came out in like full emo attire. He had like a fake lip ring, and I was like, what? Like, what? Where if I saw this dude, I would have made massive assumptions about who he was and potentially, right? And I've obviously tried to learn through those things as I become adult and more mature. But right, you're all the same with the shaved head and ACUs on or BD.
Baggy freaking.
And try to condition people to learn that, like, just judge people on their character and their behavioral patterns, not on looks, race. None of that shit matters. None of it matters. Like, none of it
that's something we can all agree on within what our time in the military provided us is that shit goes right out the window. And I was just thinking about a potential solution to this. And Evan, you mentioned mission, and it feels like that overall as a community of the country is just lacking in general. I was like, you know what? Maybe if I was the guy making the decisions at the top, I don't think that mandatory service would be a bad idea, and not necessarily military service, but making the citizens of this country do some type of service, whether that's domestic or Peace Corps, or you join the military. It forces these groups of people from different regions of the country to get together and work together and force each other to understand the cultural differences of where they come from. And that's the only place that we have that right now is in the military. Even in university, so it doesn't work there. It's not the same. Like it's still
doesn't work.
But if we had these systems in place where it's like, hey, you have to serve your country. The country is going to provide for you. It'll pay for your college. You can choose what element you want to serve in, but you have to do this if you want to be a citizen of this country.
Well, I think there's a portion of that. It's like, a lot of people are afraid of what they don't know. And is there real racism? Yes, everywhere in the world. But it's a matter of like educating people that who they are with their skin color or their cultural background is no reflection of their character. And I think the more and more you travel the world and spend time in different states and different communities, you learn we're kind of all the fucking same, right? And then when we meet the assholes and the murderers and the opportunists of the world, like criminal opportunists, those are the people we have to band together as a society across the board and say, guess what? You're going to jail, bitch, right? That's like how the system should work. And the unfortunate reality is, I think a lot of cultures get painted that, like we are racist or something because I'm a white male. And it's like, it's very challenging for me because I think if people knew who I am on the inside, they would see something completely different. They'd see that I try to be unifying, not divisive. That's the last thing I'd ever want.
Well, even as a conversation as a company, right? It's, we've had I've had multiple people, what's your opinion on this? Or, what are you guys doing? It's like, man, we're trying to entertain, inform, and inspire, right? This doesn't fall into any of those buckets, actually.
Yep.
Even the borderline rant that we have on these shows, it's like, don't listen to me, man. Like I'm an idiot. Like at the end of the day, I pride myself on being a halfway decent coffee roaster, great dad, and I've got my own opinions, but like I'm limited just like anyone else. I don't even know why people want to know what I think about it, because it's just kind of mind blowing to me. They want to know. It's like, okay, well, do I have an opinion? Yeah, it's one man's opinion. And I think that there's so many different things that we can be positive about, that we can embrace and unify around a single focused mission. And when we look at even how the pandemic has affected us, or the business, what did I say? Take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your community, focus on those things and tune out of this bullshit.
Yeah.
Negative. Everybody in the internet has an opinion. Everybody.
Yeah. There's no filter anymore.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I'll mirror that. I think a lot of people ask my opinion on that stuff, and I try to stay out of it, because just because I'm on social media does not make me a fucking expert on any of this. I'm an internet satirist that served this country. And if you want to know what I believe in, well, it's easy to look at Black Rifle, because I put every ounce of energy and passion into what we're doing. It's re-assimilating veterans, job placement, giving back to our community. That's where my focus is. And that's where I spend all my time and energy. So to ask me what I think about the inner workings of this, I'm a fucking idiot too. I have an online bachelor's degree. My dog could have probably got that degree. So, it's just know your sources, right? And we obviously have this podcast to shoot the shit, and it's more for friends developing our own opinions based off of what we've seen. And, but we're not actioning on those, right? We're staying true to what we believe in.
Yeah. And I hope people take kind of a step back and a conscientious effort to look at the big picture. I think, all of us, having been to so many different places in the world, is, a lot of Americans don't have the opportunity to do that. Like, even right now with all this craziness with the riots and Corona, like, America's a fucking wonderful place. And we know that because we've been to other places that are awful. And I would still much rather be here in this wonderful country than a lot of the other places that we've been to.
Yeah. Well, great.
I went for a run yesterday and today. Some of those places that were, directly involved in the riots, and guess what? They're still, they were cleaned up. they were cleaned up. People were walking their dogs. They're like literally downtown, right next to where it was. There's like a guy putting the baggie on his fucking hand, picking up his dog shit the next day. And I'm thinking, okay, hey man, we've been through worse as a country.
Yeah.
We're going to survive this.
Yeah.
I think that to go back to Matt's point about, it's not important for even our opinions. It's important for people to develop their own opinions, listening to people that have fact-based knowledge, that are subject matter experts. Like, we have to listen to scientists and economists and philosophers, like, if there are such people involved in this. And, a lot of people, I think they've been discouraged from listening and trying to find facts because they've been conditioned to listen to a bunch of pseudoscience bullshit. It's much more entertaining to listen to how maybe aliens landed on fucking Earth 30,000 years ago and developed fucking complex civilization, and how, Atlantis might have existed. That's really fucking interesting. But really, there's not a lot of factual evidence that backs that up. It's fun and it's entertaining and it's a lot like fiction, but there's not a lot of fact. We've mapped the ocean. We understand what it looks like underneath. We have mapped it. If Atlantis existed, we'd probably fucking know. And I think a lot of people listen to a bunch of fucking pseudoscience. They don't trace facts. They don't trust scientists because they think that they're academic, big head fucking bullshit. Well, emotional
responses, man. It's emotional.
Yeah. they're like dealing with emotion, and they're dealing with these like really large assumptions. Now, my cousin he's my best friend for a long time. We grew up together. We're 6 months apart. He's a scientist. He's been doing DNA research his entire adult life. Like, that guy is a very binary person. He deals in science all day. That's what he does. When he tells me that when he's looking and looking at DNA and trying to outline genetic code, when he tells me something about genetic code, I'm going to believe him more than I'm going to believe some fucking idiot on YouTube that has an 8th grade education and talks about how
look at me, I made a video.
Hey, I fucking put this video out.
And we all know Atlantis doesn't exist, because if it did, I'd be fucking some mermaids, dude.
Oh man, going for the mermaids. Wow, this has been an interesting one,
right?
Yeah. We got full circle.
It's serious there, I know.
All right.
Well, good to see you guys, man. We'll see you next time, and thanks for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show, and yeah, good meeting.